It doesn't make us strong, it doesn't make us weak. Tongue-tied to service like shy teens. I could only breathe. Live to believe I'm alone.
What is up, guys? Cody here, and welcome back to once again another Napoleon Total War battle. So this was sent in to me by Andre. He's going to be in command of the Swedish. Thank you very much for the replay. And we are on Borodino. So you can see he's going to be in command of the Swedish. And his ally next to him is going to be in command of Russia. And he's going to be controlling the central ground right here. And then finally we have Prussia on the far right flank, and they're also going to be controlling the town as well. So let's take a look at the army comps. The rules for this battle were 1 artillery max and I believe maybe 4 or 5 max light infantry. But let's get right into his army comps. So first off, he has some 2 lifeguards afoot. Behind that he has 4 line infantry. And then on the right flank he has 3 more line infantry, a 7-pound howitzer. Looks like he's brought 2 hussars and then 2 mounted Jaegers on that right flank. And then in the far back he has 2 more mounted Jaegers and a general. So it looks like he's going to be facing the Danish. Very even matchup right here. Both minor nations, but they do have very similar units. You see the Danish artillery already opening up, seeing that it is 12-pound foot artillery. They do have the range over the howitzers, but the howitzers do pack a bigger punch, so we will see what happens there. Looks like Russia's going to be shifting his forces straight up the fields. You see he's rushing his guys off the hill. Very surprised by that. Usually a lot of players do not do this when they do have control of the hill. And then finally we have Prussia on the right flank. It looks like he's just going to be chilling on his end. Facing Prussia is going to be Great Britain. And I believe that it is max 4 lights, because I'm not seeing 5 lights. Sweden over here, it looks like he's going to be shifting half his force to go aid Britain. It looks like they're going to be assaulting Austria brought a pretty decent sized cav force consisting of some dragoons and uhlans. But he is splitting up his army right now, and that is not what you want to be doing, because it's just going to isolate your troops. Now, he does have 2 artillery, so it makes me think maybe the rules were 2 artillery max, or maybe he just broke them. Not 100% sure, but you see he's brought 2 7-pound howitzers, and they're about to open up on that cavalry, it seems, once they do get unlimbered. You see them in the distance out there. Oh. Okay, they're unlimbering now. But the Danish player is getting extremely close to the Danish or Swedish lines. You see, actually got a volley off, but it looks like the hill did protect majority of those guys. The Jaegers are going to fire back. They have already been firing back. Looks over here. First gunshots. Looks like Prussia's claiming that building right there, so it's going to be a very, very hard push in order to cap that or take that place from Great Britain. Over here in the center, though, the light engagement is continuing. You see here some cavalry charges now. It looks like these light dragoons from the Danish player are going to be charged in at the Swedish lines in a big blob as well, consisting of 4 light dragoon units. Sweden's going to be pushing up his forces now, and they're going to have a nice engagement. You see artillery, point-blank volleys, getting some direct hits. Great volleys there. And it's going to force the Swedish line infantry into square. So Andre's doing a phenomenal job right here, preventing that cav from doing much damage whatsoever. But it does look like he sent a 3rd unit to this line, unable to form square. But that is not going to be good. I'm surprised he's not going for the artillery. My main task would be taking out the artillery. But it looks like Andre is forced to pull back in the center. You see that cavalry totally disrupted his flank. Luckily, he does have cavalry from behind. He snuck them around. He's actually going to charge into the lifeguard. And he's going for his general as well. So the Danish general is in some trouble right now. And he gets charged into, so maybe he will die. And he's also going for the artillery. So great job there, trying to take out important units on the battlefield. But you see just chaos has erupted over here. Let's take a look at this end of the battlefield. It looks like Russia's taking some heavy volleys from the artillery that the Austrians and British are putting out. Very clustered up, so they're going to be taking a ton of losses, so he needs to spread out there. But over here, hell has broken loose, and look at this. Andre has killed the enemy general. So that is really going to affect the morale for the Danish. You see morale's already suffering kind of on the right side, as well as the left side. You see the cav is kind of fading away. They're losing a lot of guys, and still that Swedish artillery is perfectly fine, and they are doing a really good job at taking a lot of those guys down. So he's going to reform his lines now, and he's going to continue to get some nice volleys off. Looks like we have a cav matchup in the center here. Mounted Jaegers against some light dragoons. Mounted Jaegers did break, but look at this. The Swedish general is running right by his troops, trying to inspire his men to prevent them from breaking. Over here, he does need to reform his center. You can see he's kind of all over the place, but look at this. A nice charge by Andre into the lines, but he did get a ton of guys killed because of that volley. But the morale is very low for the Danish right now on this right flank. So it looks like the Swedish cavalry coming in from the back. This should easily finish off the Danish player. You see morale dropping instantly, breaking those lights, and morale is just not looking good. And once again, another Hussar unit coming in. Great job here, getting phenomenal charges in the back with the cavalry units. And look at that, he's totally annihilated this Danish flank, and the Danish are in full retreat on this flank. So now, the Danish player's forces are really getting crushed right now. He's holding in the center, but when it comes to his flanks, he is not looking good, especially with artillery on this other flank. And you usually don't see artillery this close to enemy line units. Wouldn't be surprised if some of those stray volleys actually killed some of those howitzermen. But the cavalry job, very effective use of those guys, killing the general, taking out the artillery, and crushing the Danish right flank. Great job there. And he does have some line infantry still, some lifeguard afoot. Those guys are going to be very deadly. Now let's see if the Danish player learned his lesson. I do not think so, because he's not forming square. Oh, there he goes. Okay. So he's catching on to what Andre is trying to do, but sadly you cannot form square with a militia unit, so that's going to cost him a lot as well. We even have the mounted Jaegers firing as well from horseback. Let's take a look on the other side of the battlefield and see what conflicts are going on. So it looks like the Prussian player did want to push over to the other side, and they're going to be faced by a lot of British lights. You can see 4 light units. Not to mention a lot of cavalry coming in as well. So it looks like the Prussian player is going to be shifting over a lot of line infantry, and he's going to try and push his forces over there. It looks like this Andre still has a couple of units over here. Russia is just getting destroyed right now. Look at this. Okay, so without getting any volleys off, this one unit is down to 48 men. They are taking some insane losses. I think these guys are shooting shrapnel. Yes, they are. That is just going to shred his lines. So the Russian player needs to charge in with his cavalry. And look at this, a mass rout is happening. Both units are gone, and there's only 4 left over there. Meanwhile, the Danish player is in full retreat. Morale is just not bad, or is just horrible. Like I said, losing a general can really cost you a lot. And the Danish morale is never good, unless you have some really elite troops. It looks like he did bring some lifeguards afoot, but not enough to keep that morale up. And look at this. Insane victory by Andre. Great job there. Using his cavalry very, very effectively. He's forming square. Artillery coming in, killing some of his own guys, but it is okay. Russia, though, actually did charge in to the Austrians. That's going to cause a lot of damage for his artillery. You can see they only have 1 cannon, or 1 guy that's still alive. And then as for the other cannon, there are 5 guys alive. So great job there. Not able to use canister, and it's just really keeping these guys compact. It's going to allow these Russians to get some really nice volleys off. Not to mention the Austrian, or the Swedish are coming in full force right now from the left flank. Meanwhile, the Russians are holding over here, taking a lot of volleys from the artillery. And then Britain and the Prussians are duking it out right now. I would have to say Britain's going to win this one, or at least the range advantage, just because he has light infantry, and over here Prussia's just forced with or has a lot of light infantry. He does have the occasional Silesian Schützen, but still, British lights are very, very powerful. But he does have a lot of reserves in the back. You see, consisting a lot of foot guard, or foot and then 3 foot, or foot guard and then 3 foot, and he also has a general back there too. 5-inch howitzers, still pounding those guys to pieces. Looks like the Austrians got their act together and they're going to continue to fire back. Only issue with that is 2 of these units are landwehr, so that's going to cost them a lot. You see the general back here. But like I said, Sweden is coming. In order for the Austrian player to be successful, he needs to kill off these Russians before that Swedish horde comes. Because if he gets within range of the Swedes, he is very, very well screwed on this flank. Just because he has nowhere to fall back to, and he has no reinforcements. So he needs to finish up that engagement with the Russians. Russians doing a good job of keeping those Austrians stationary. Meanwhile, those Swedish are pushing up, and they have a ton of guys. So it looks like these mounted Jaegers are going to be firing from horseback. Let's take a look at their volley. Very nice volley, dropping them. And the thing that I love about mounted horses, or rifled horses, is that they can shoot on horseback, and you can really fake out a lot of people by doing that. Oh, it looks like we have another cav charge here. The general himself's going in up against some hussars, but I believe that general is going to die just because he's going to get overwhelmed on so many sides by so many cavalry units. Down to 10 guys. Russian morale is dropping quite a bit. Looks like the artillery crew is going to try and man 1 gun, or maybe not at all. But it's just not looking good for these Austrians right now. What are they doing? Okay, it looks like they're just going to be reforming. Meanwhile, on the right flank, skirmish engagement is still continuing. Looks like we got a cav charge from Great Britain into a lot of these Prussians. Prussians did form square, and it looks like that British cav unit is going to break. But like I said, he's still taking quite the pounding. Got this poor guy getting dragged by a horse. Oh, it sucks. And look at this. The Austrian general is dead. So the morale is just going to go horribly wrong for these Austrians. And the Swedish and Andre is just doing a phenomenal job. Only the landwehr remains. We have one, actually, Hungarian Fusilier and 2 landwehr. But other than that, there is nothing else. Oh, maybe these guys can get a volley off. Nope, not gonna happen. Oh man, this mounted Jaegers just trucked those 7-pound howitzer guys. So with such a massive force that Sweden still poses, and still a decent sized force on this hill that Russia has, things are not looking too great for the enemy. It's pretty much just down to Great Britain and Austria. You see Austria just crumbled on that flank. So that freed up a lot of Russian units on the right flank, and now it looks like the Swedish player is going to once again reform. His guys are pretty tired, but I'm sure they will have time to rest up from that massive, or all those engagements they've been faced. I would have to say the foot guards are losing this engagement just because these guys are more fanned out, and I believe their accuracy is just a tad bit better. Take a look at this artillery. Are they firing? No, they are not. They are just not engaging. Very surprised by that. Maybe the hill or one of the buildings are blocking their view. So you can see the horde of Austrians running back over, crossing the river, but these guys are not coming back. And it looks like these Russians are having a good time right now, just peppering these guys as they run across the river. It's them over there. So now Sweden and Russia have quite the task to face. They are forced to, the only way over here to this side of the battle is through this small narrow checkpoint. Now it might just be like D-Day if they do plan to assault this, in which they probably are, seeing that they do have more numbers. So they're gonna have to play this very smart in order to overwhelm this Austrian force on this flank. Even though Austria does not have the numbers, they are in a key position. We even have artillery still blasting these guys. Whew. Good volley there. But the things have subsided on the right side of the battlefield. It looks like the Prussians have fallen back, taken some pretty heavy losses. But they still do have a sizable force. And look at this. Oh no, I don't know if the Austrian player sees this or not, but you see the Prussian player clearly put stakes down, And it looks like he's going to be running over here. So we're going to see the outcome of these poor Uhlans. Oh man, I don't think he sees that. But he is in the diamond formation, so he shouldn't take too many losses. Probably get more losses from being shot at. And yep. Let's see. Charging into these stakes now. Yeah, not looking good. Not looking good. And they break on impact, so complete waste of a unit. But look at this. Britain's now going to be pushing up his rifles. They are getting pretty low on ammunition though, so he's gonna have to be cautious of what he does there. Looks like these Jaegers are firing on this hill. Don't know why the Austrian player is not falling back. He could fall back and, you know, keep himself out of range, but it looks like he's just going to be taking it, and he's going to be suffering quite a decent amount of losses here. German Fusiliers, they are pretty good. But things are calming down on this side of the battlefield, but these musketeers are going to be pushing up now against these Lightfoot, and they're going to be engaging with 118 men up against 62 and 43. Some pretty good volleys. Britain's going to pull back, try to use his range to his advantage, but you can see the morale over here on this right flank is not looking good either. If you guys don't know, there also is an entry point over here to this side of the battlefield. Many people do not notice it, but that is one way these Prussians could attack. Looks like Britain and Austria is going to be pushing up their forces now. Still massive forces. And you see there is a time limit, so 44 minutes remaining, but I doubt it will go that long. So I'm going to fast forward. Things have calmed down, like I said, so I'm just waiting for this action to continue. Lightfoot are going to be continuing to engage against the Sleazy and Schützen, and now we got some Russians running down. Ooh, a little close there. So the reserves from Russia are going to be going to be sent over to the right side where Prussia is located, and it looks like they're going to be shifting their forces over. So pretty big assaults if they are going to be pushing. Look at this. We got some Prussian cavalry now. Cuirassiers, very elite cav unit. They're going to be charging in to these Lightfoot. They are very tired of these guys shooting, but they are going to get hit pretty hard. You see Austria has his own cavalry. They're going to be chasing down these Cuirassiers, but the Cuirassiers are just going to get mowed down from those volleys from the Austrian lines. Over here though, looks like Sweden's going to be pushing up, getting ready to push across the river. And you see the Austrian player gave Sweden and Russia some breathing room to cross. Not too sure why he would go that far back. Maybe he'll have a little sneak attack once it does cross the river, who knows. But things once again have subsided, so I'm going to fast forward once again. You see the cav units from Austria are very successful in their attack, or counterattack. And let's take a look. Okay, so the time has come. The massive push is coming. You see they are going to be running across this river now. Very dangerous move. We have artillery blasting this area. This is not good. Oh, that was a good hit right there. Any direct hits right here is just going to be total devastation for these guys. It's just like D-Day. Oh man, what a massive crossing of troops. The entire force. But they are going to be getting some cover fire from friendly artillery. You see the 7-pound howitzers over there. And they're going to be crossing uncontested, other than some artillery bombardments. So don't know why Austria is not pushing up. He really needs to push up here. Oh, that was a good hit. Not direct, but very close. Let's take a look here. That was a little short. They are suffering some losses right now, and you see they are very clustered. So while they're going to be pushing on this flank, it looks like the enemy forces are going to be pushing on the other flank. So kind of interesting to note there. It looks like we got some elite British troops are going to be pushing up into the mix. Austria really needs to be pushing up. There he goes. But he doesn't have the numbers. He really should have used a sneak attack, or at least push while the enemy was pushing across the river. It's really maximized his effectiveness, because you just see they're easily going to be outflanked here. they are going to get some good volleys off. So once again, another big clash on this flank. Very good volleys. Now, if I were Great Britain or Austria, I would shift all these units over to this one side of the battle, because these guys are totally... Oh, that was a direct hit. Oh, that poor unit. Like I was saying, these guys are completely... what's the word? Committed, you could say. Because they have to cross back over this river, and that's just going to take a lot of time. So if they can shift their entire army back over here, they can totally wipe out this force and then push over to Prussia and the other Russian forces over there. But it looks like they're not going to be doing that. And you see you've got some mounted Jaegers going around the flank. And it looks like Andrei's going to be using the similar tactics as before and just getting some really nice charges in from the back, or maybe going for that 5-inch tower, so seeing how deadly it was, or it still is. Some Russian units are breaking. We got canister coming. Man, what a bloody battle. Russians are not looking too good on this right flank, though. Let's see, these British units are just dominating. They do have more skill, so it doesn't surprise me, and more men. But over here on the right flank, Austria is just losing very quickly. And here comes the cav force now. Very depleted, but they can still get the job done. Wait, where'd that artillery go? Oh, there it is. It's hidden. Okay, so it looks like he's trying to limber up and trying to get out of there before the cavalry comes, but Andre is not going to allow that. So he's going to be charging into the backs of those 5-inch howitzers. Looks like Austria has given up, so he's just going to charge in hopes of beating back those Russians. And there we go. 5-inch howitzers have been charged down to 2 cannons now. Not looking good at all. Austrians actually doing some damage to the Russians and breaking quite a few of them, but like I said, the Russians and the Austrians just have too big of a force over here to really do any damage. Britain sending over more troops now, trying to even this engagement. And these guys are having a nice little engagement across the river. No one's really daring to cross over. Let's take a look back over here. So with Russia now, Britain now pushing up a lot of his troops, the odds are very much even now. You see the cavalry is gone at this point. Sweden used up all his cavalry, and still Austria has some cavalry left. And look at this, Britain shifting over even more troops just because he knows how deadly things will be if this force gets around and gets behind him. It's a very bloody game. So the engagement continues. But you can see Britain is very thick in his lines as to where Andre is very thin. So that can also play a massive role in this engagement. Russian Jaegers, 49 guys, still have ammunition. That is great. Looks like these musketeers are going to be filling the gap right now. Actually, not too sure what they're going to be doing. And just take a look at the carnage from this engagement beforehand. We got the British general coming over now. Look at this. Looks like Austria is just giving up at this point. What a shame. He's going to be charging across the river. Actually, he's going to be meeting these, what do you call them? Grenadiers. They're going to be charging into some 8th Life Regiment. Not the smartest move here. So it is over for the enemy on this flank. They do not have many troops left. You see just the routing men running from this battlefield. There they go. And the only superior or pretty massive force left for the enemy is on this flank. And they are really dug in right now, facing off against these Swedish and Russians. So they need to hurry up and win this if they can even win this. And if they do, they need to turn around and prepare for this massive force that's going to be pushing on the other flank. So we got the Prussians pushing here, and the Russians and the Swedish on this flank. Very, very bloody battlefield. But he still has some very healthy numbers. He's 70, 80. Over here is getting pretty low. Artillery is still coming. And here comes the enemy in a massive, massive force. So it looks like we got some Swedish troops running now from the battlefield. So it looks like the British force over here is being very successful in pushing these guys back. And you can see some routing troops from the enemy have come back, so they're going to be reforming. Hopefully they will. Yes, they are. So things have once again evened up, you could say. If I were Great Britain, I'd be turning around to face this force over here. And you see they're going to be pushing across the river. Still a lot of foot guards left from Prussia. Very healthy units. Got a Russian unit over here. Pretty isolated at the moment. No allies nearby, so his morale is getting pretty bad. And he's going to start running back as well. But look at this. Russia still has some lights and a general back here. Not to mention this artillery and the Prussian general. But pretty much all the forces are on this side of the battlefield now. So very interesting to see what is going on. Wait, are these guys chasing them? I'm so confused right now. What? Okay, never mind. I just went brain dead there for a second. So Prussia's going to be engaging with Britain. Austria reformed, and you can see they do have the slight hill advantage right now. But they're up against a very, very deadly force. Got the life guards afoot still. Not to mention, like I said before, these foot guards. But I am very sure that these foot can hold up and withstand those foot guards. At least for a good portion of the time. But smart here by Andre, pulling back his forces just because he knew he was going to lose that engagement and draw their forces elsewhere. So instead of him losing all his troops and the British player sending all his troops back over to this end to fight this engagement, he's going to keep these guys here and just kind of draw, you know, a good section of these British troops away from the engagement, or at least the important engagement that's happening right now. And that is over here. So very good moves by Andre, really thinking through his movements and what he's going to be doing. So here we go. All these Austrians are taking a very, very bad beating right now. And they do break on impact, but these other two units are going to engage. But still very close game. And still very, very even. We still have these two British lights that have come back. We'll see how effective he uses those. But Russia still has some lifeguards. Elite troops on this flank as well. The British have pretty much broken from the side of the battlefield, and all that is left are these Austrian and British forces over here. So it looks like the Allied forces are going to be victorious on this left flank. Very depleted units, or fairly depleted actually. They do have some pretty healthy units still, and they're going to be pushing up over to this next part of the battlefield as well. So breaking these units one by one. You see the lifeguard foot are now pushing up from the Russians. But sadly, they're going to be shooting the hill. There are quite a few of them are going to be shooting the hill. You see them over there. But here comes Prussia. Poor Great Britain and Austria. They're going to be pinched on both sides. Looks like Britain notices that. So you have Austria that's going to be facing this side of the battlefield. Meanwhile, Britain is going to be facing the opposite end, preparing for an attack by the Prussians. Meanwhile, those light forces broke on impact, and those guys are victorious on that flank. So once again, it's not looking good for the enemy forces. But they're doing an excellent job in trying to keep this battle as even as possible. See, they're going to be engaging against some musketeers there, bringing them down to 35 men. They're going to get some return volleys. But here we go, guys. Final part of the battle. Very, very close battle. But the thing, even if the enemy did win this huge engagement, they still have a lot of artillery to counter. See over there, not to mention that healthy light unit. So the odds are definitely not in their favor right now. Marching their way to the Prussian lines. Ooh, that's weird. So there we go. They're going to engage now. There we go. Britain is in some trouble right now, getting flanked from pretty much all sides. But Sweden is out of ammo, out of the left guards afoot, so he's going to be pulling them back and replacing them, or Russia's going to be replacing them with some elite troops of their own. We have the British general over here trying to inspire his guys, and they do end up breaking, so horrible there. But it looks like the Austrians did break. So there's no more Austrians, and it's just down to these final 2 units. Final 1 unit now. Last unit on the battlefield. Things have changed very quickly. Morale has greatly impacted the men of these British lines. And that is the game, guys. So, good game to Andre and his allies. Very, very good game. You see the statistics here. Actually, everyone did a great job. I don't see really anyone that really didn't do that great. Maybe Russia, only 500 kills. But look at this, Andre with almost 2,000 kills. If it wasn't for Andre, I do not think they would have won that whatsoever. So definitely the MVP there. Look at this, British cavalry, Swedish cavalry on top, 212 kills. Excellent job there. I'm pretty sure that was the unit that took down the general, the artillery, and charged the enemy line of infantry in the back. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for the replay, Andre. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like the video and comment what you guys want to see next. And until then, guys, if you guys enjoyed this video, I will see you guys later.